sign that they're ready.
Go!
And he took that moment and off they went.
That, you were talking about the importance of getting all four athletes the same amount of power to go straight. Both crews handled it really, really well. Great start from both crews.
Two members of this crew here in the royal blue, the Newcastle University crew, were in the final last year, so they've got some revenge to get on this event, and you know they want to make it through the rest of the week. The Nereus crew from that shot before started very strong.
Newcastle did take 45 strokes a minute at the top of the island. That's really, really high for a Cox 4. And you're just nudging into a lead on the back of it. Just those extra few strokes taking, giving them that advantage. Will it tell later on in the race? I know the time will tell. Nereus seems to settle into that slightly longer rhythm than earlier. Seems slightly more composed from this shot.
Yeah, we've seen the lead change with some of these crews so far because of the slight slower race. And also this boat, they're carrying a coxswain, so it's slightly heavier, makes the race slightly longer.
Really nice shot of the stroke there in the Nereus boat. Mick van Banning, very relaxed, very calm and composed. Really loose.
The slightly punchier Newcastle crew is staying a little bit clear water ahead, I'd call that.
Just over a length, I reckon, at this stage. Early stage of the race, though.
Bruce Turner on the stroke seat, Kevin Hinkle, Joseph Adamson, Oliver McChesney. And you can just see the head of Sam Shuker pointing out coxswain up there in the bows. This is the Cox Sam's 6th Henley, and first competed at 16, so that's a lot of experience to help you down that course, to encourage that crew to steer a straight line, to make the calls at the right time. Sometimes people ask me, why is there someone steering the boat? Now, what would you say is the point of a Cox, Jim?
I think someone naively might say steering, but to me that's way down the priority list. To get four people in any boat, or particularly an 8, to coordinate those people and to get the, you know, greater than the sum of the parts is that classic rowing analogy, and that to me that just epitomises what a Cox is for, and a good one. Do they make a difference? Wow, yeah, such an important part of the crew.
It's almost like having a little football manager, you know, in the middle of the pitch, telling you what to do, making the calls at the right time. They've got to know their athletes, they've got to know what makes them tick, they've got to feel the boat. So a lot of people say, well, in the bows they can't see the timing, but that boat is travelling and they can feel the slight twitches, they can feel the timing of when the blades go in, they can feel one push together. We want to see all four blades dropping together and one push together. And the Cox, if they're very good at their game, they can feel that.
And the best coaches make make use of their Coxes, you know, and get the Coxes. Coxes got to do loads of coaching around the boat, and they're all part of the coaching team as well. And the best coaches get the best out of their Coxes.
As we're looking down there, that's exactly what we're talking about. We're looking at Sam Shuker. Got a little microphone which is attached to speakers in the rest of the boat, so the crew can hear perfectly well what they're saying. Newcastle quite comfortable there, 33, 34 strokes per minute. Like they're controlling this race from the start, really. From the first strokes, they looked like they were dominant and controlled this race.
Interesting, that speed of the boat's been pretty constant for the last minute or two as well, and they're just like, they're in that constant race pace throughout, and they're just comfortable now, aren't they? You can just see them very much in control of this race now as they're coming up to the 3/4 mile signal. And for those who are not familiar with the course, this signal here on the left-hand side, there's a signal volunteer there, and the first crew comes, and then they move the second marker up, and it shows you how far they're ahead, and those white bandings are the length markers, so that will run up in a minute. It's hard to see from this angle, but I think there's probably a 3-length lead at this stage.
Looking down now to Sonny Coulson, the Cox of the Nereus crew, and there's a weight limit on these Coxes. They have to be 55 kilos internationally. There's been a change internationally, so there's parity between them. So they used to just be allowed the same gender, coxing the same gender, but now men and women can both cox. So 55 kilos they're carrying along. You normally get the small people get picked on and get told to come down to the rowing club, and that's who you're carrying along in the boat. So not as heavy. You're looking at 55 kilo cox compared to 85, 90 kilo rowers. That's the kind of difference we're talking about. And make them as light as possible, but yeah, the minimum weight it can be is 55 kilos.
But the most important thing is they're an absolutely crucial part of the crew. And this Newcastle will be able to enjoy their row now, and they may be thinking, it's not done and dusted, but with a significant lead over Nereus.
This regatta is about, yeah, being the fastest crew and you know, beating the person you line up against, whoever they are. But it's about getting through each day, and you don't want to use up too much of that energy early on in the regatta. And if you can afford to do it, you've got to have a plan. And it's really gutsy to make that plan when you're sitting on start line to say, look, if we're up by 4 lengths, shall we drop our strokes per minute down a little bit? Shall we ease off a bit? Let's start thinking about the rest of the regatta. Or as we saw before in some crews, you don't want to catch dirty water and end it all with a crap. So it's the fine balance, and this is what your cox is telling you now. This is what the crew's doing together and responding to the race that's happening down that course.
Especially now it's a 6-day event as well. If you have a spare day, let's say on the Wednesday, or you don't race Tuesday, it's how you keep a crew focused and don't get distracted, don't go wandering off with friends and family on a hot day and tire themselves out. You've really, for a crew like this Newcastle crew, are going to go further in the event, clearly. You want to kind of make sure they're focused for the next few days and doing their absolute best to perform later on in the week.
Very low in the shoulders there, nice to see that. That's a sign of relaxation, and some people said to me, well, it's not about relaxation, it's about power. But it's not, because half the stroke you're actually switched off and you're relaxed. You're going up this slide, your feet are attached to these little shoes in the boat, you're on a set of sliders, your seat's got little wheels on, and you've got to basically go back against the momentum of the boat. So you don't want to upset the momentum of the boat. So you've got to be relaxed on that, what we call the recovery, as you approach the catch, when you put your blade in the water. And they're doing that well there now, Newcastle.
It's being in sync with an object that's moving underneath you, isn't it? You're doing your absolute best to minimise your impact upon it. But you've got to give credit to Nereus. They're doing their absolute best. You see that they're really fighting to try and close that margin, certainly not giving up in any way, shape or form. You can hear it.
Yeah, they're definitely putting this in towards the finish line. This is their race. This is their Henley 2022, and they want to get as close as possible to this really classy Newcastle crew, who are, you know, 2 finalists from last year. They've come back. They've probably had a hard winter's treading, thinking about that final. What can we do differently? And they've done the job on this first day of Prince Albert Challenge Cup. Nereus bring it towards the finish line here. A few lengths behind. Crew from Amsterdam closing off their race, and then Henley 22. That's a win to Prince Albert from Newcastle University of the ASR Nereus, Netherlands.